Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this championship-deciding final round of the Coleslaw Cup season, and it's taking place in the heart of the Ardennes Forest at the infamous Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps here in Belgium. It's Scornsy versus Jacko, Ferrari versus AlphaTauri as the grid looks to tame the 7-kilometer circuit and its 19 corners. The two DRS zones here, heading into La Source and then down the Kemmel Straight, should amount to many overtakes. And for our season finale, we'll be taking you through qualifying as well. Now, naturally, hotspot on the call, as you'd expect. Naturally, I wouldn't necessarily bother with the qualifying session, but every point matters, and there is naturally a point up for grabs for pole position, as well as that for driver of the day. Most positions completed. Please tell me the game hasn't frozen. Has the game frozen? Surely not. Nope, there it is. I hope. Tell me. Yes, here we are then at Spa. That was quite scary, that one. Anyways, here. So, as it stands right now, Jacko and the Ferrari needs to finish 6th or higher to claim the Drivers' Championship. And, wow, is Scornsy just not even here? Well, unless he's joining late, that has put a severe damper on my mood, as, really... Oh, wow, okay, that one is slightly depressing, that. It doesn't look like Scornsy is here at this moment in time. Is he at the very least checked into the race? Well, he is checked in. So I guess maybe... Is he joining late, or what's the deal? I'm not quite sure, but, should Scornsy have shown up, Jacko would need to finish 6th or higher. But at this moment in time, I mean, if Scornsy doesn't show up, then Jacko's just going to have it by himself. And, I mean, that is no fun at all, that. Not because he hasn't deserved it, but because I was quite hoping for a battle. But, boy, it looks like has Slayer Eyes gone off then? That coming out of... Yeah, coming out of the pits. We've had the McLaren of Slayer Eyes go off. That is, quite interesting, that one. Let's see if A-Dub can get a good look at it here as he exits the pit lane. Hey, you can hear the car. Oh, wow, look at that. Huh. How's he done that? Has he just gotten onto the throttle and, given a good little spin? Definitely possible. But, well, on that note, then, Jonathan Dunk's going to be our first driver on a time lap today. So... as it turns out, assuming that Scornsy won't be joining the session, it is a shoot fight then between the AlphaTauri team and the Ferrari team. Ferrari leads the pair of Scuderias by, I believe it is 16 points, so really everything up for grabs then tonight. Jonathan Dunk first out on a timed lap. I will say now, I've programmed a spreadsheet here that gives me live point standings for each and every driver on the grid, or at least those in the championship hunt, so I will be able to determine both the AlphaTauri score and Ferrari score, as well as that is Elma Jacko himself, and Scornsy should have been here. Jonathan Dunk now making his way down the Kemmel Straight, 340 kilometers an hour, heading into heading into Lacombe then. Very tricky combination of corners. Not too hard to lose the car, actually, as you head down. Now, this corner on my map is listed as Brussels. On some maps, it's listed as Rivage. Well, there's a little debate about that. There's no debate about this one. No-name corner as he goes through now. Takes the, tries to... Oh, no, and that is the Ferrari teammate there. And he has lost it. Heading up Au Rouge then. And I tell you what, I don't want to say I'm surprised, because as we see Valentine go through this corner now, in a second, these cars, this new generation of car is so full of downforce, it's actually super easy to lose the car going up that corner. And that is exactly what's happened to the Ferrari driver of KB07, and now that may leave the door wide open for the AlphaTauri team to get prime qualifying position heading into the Grand Prix. Purple Sector 1 for Valentine. Let's go back along with Jonathan Dunk, heading through the final chicane now. Back on the throttle he goes. DRS open. What has he got at the line? It is a 1:43.731. Next up behind him, the AlphaTauri of actually it's Dace, 1:44.658. And I tell you what, that's actually a little bit further behind than we're typically accustomed to seeing Dace in the fight for pole. Jacko goes about 3.5 tenths off the pace. I mean, Jonathan Dunk, that's either an unbelievable lap, or the likes of Jacko and Dace are actually quite struggling here. And Lancey then dethrones Jonathan Dunk. He will go 1:43.561. That does put over 1.5 tenths back to the Alfa Romeo of Jonathan Dunk. So, that does, I gotta say, that hurts Elma Jacko and the Ferrari team quite a lot, as now they may be on the back foot here. Let's go along with A-Dub, making his way through Blanchimont and into the final chicane now. What does he have in the cards for this AlphaTauri driver? First gear through the final couple corners. Back on the throttle he goes. He's got to be careful heading through first gear. To the line, what has he got? It's good enough for P4. It's a 1:44.212. 212. And that does put him fourth, just over 6.5 tenths behind. It looks like we've got the Red Bull Lancey, who's deciding to kill the engine in his Red Bull, as it turns out. We do have VTech on his way into the pits. Jonathan Dunk also as well. I'm just trying to find the next person on the time lap. NFS Lightwork looks to be him. I believe he set Purple Sector 2 as well, did the Aston Martin. Here he goes now, going through Blanchimont. Excuse my French, I know it's terrible. Makes his way now towards the new bus stop chicane, I believe the somewhat official title. It's the only thing with this circuit as opposed to a circuit like Monaco. There's so many different names for almost every corner. To the line goes NFS Lightwork at 1:43.168. Now that's a great lap from the Aston Martin driver, but I'm sure Elma Jacko or either of the two AlphaTauri drivers would much rather have that in their favor. That is honestly a point really up for grabs, and a point that's going to mean a lot. However, now that Lightwork has provisional pole and KBO7 hasn't completed a lap in this session, he might be up for grabs for the driver of the day points as well, should he make up enough spots. That's an interesting little situation there. Maybe, I mean, that might really help that Ferrari team, but I'm sure he wouldn't want to necessarily go for it. I'm sure he'd much rather be starting at the top of the grid. Does Nicky64 come in? Yes, he does. Behind him, we have, I believe this is the Williams then of Valentine. It says VTech has just retired from the session. I'm assuming that's in the pits. AlphaTauri of Dace probably coming in as well, of A-Dub coming in as well, and yes, he is. He's on a little fuel mode. Next up behind him, I believe we do have, is that the Williams of Valentine coming in? We have the Alpine of Shariah Coleslaw on an outlap. Behind him, we've got M. Galloway, who is on a timed lap now. Let's go along with him as he heads into Rivage then, / Brussels, whatever it is. Looking good so far. Into No Name. Let's see how he handles it. Does he take the famed esports line? No, he doesn't. That's actually quite the bold strategy to take. He does have quite a wide entry to the corner. Only the one downshift there. Somehow he hasn't invalidated. That's actually quite bold. He's gone almost completely off the curb there. Jonathan Dunk and Elma Jacko, as well as Dace, all on outlaps now. Galloway heading into Sector 3 shortly as he makes his way into Stavelo then. And 1:15.944 for that of M. Galloway. This lap might be a bit of a struggle there for the Aston Martin driver. Let's see what he's at when he gets to the final chicane. Heads through Blanchimont now. Into the chicane he goes at 1:35 when he starts braking. I don't necessarily think this will contend for pole. Top 5 might be in reach. Let's see what he's got at the line, and it is 7, so it wasn't too far off. So 1:44.572 for the Aston Martin driver. Next up, I believe, Dace, who will be starting a timed lap once he comes back around. Behind him, both the Ferrari of Elma Jacko and the Alfa Romeo of Jonathan Dunk. 3 different Italian-powered teams on their way. I'll say Italian, isn't Alfa Romeo Sauber? They're actually like Swiss, aren't they, or something? Oh, I forget. But anyways, Dace coming around the line now. Let's see what he's got. Back onto the throttle goes the AlphaTauri into La Source. He goes from 8th down to... Well, he actually stays through 3rd. That's quite interesting, that. He doesn't actually cut the majority of the inside curb, as we'd like to see. Neither does Jacko. You can take off a lot more of the inside curb through La Source then. They've chosen not to do that. Up the hill now, Dace, as he now heads into the Kemmel Straight. We have a yellow flag off back there. Looks like the Aston Martin perhaps out of fuel. Definitely a possibility. Heading now into Lacombe. Let's see what Dace has. 2/10 faster than his previous best through Sector 1. Currently sits P8, is the AlphaTauri driver, making his way now down the hill into Rivage. Looking quite good so far. Is the AlphaTauri. Let's see how he handles Puhan then. Seems to do okay. Maybe takes it a little bit slower. Perhaps an early upshift or an extra downshift there. I couldn't quite tell. Was in the middle of having a drink, to be honest. Into now Campus and then Stavilo then. 8/10, almost 9/10 of a second better through Sector 2 is the AlphaTauri of Dace. This looks to be an unbelievably solid lap then for the driver currently sitting P9. Let's see what he's got as he heads into the final chicane. Yeah, about a second faster than that of what we saw Galloway when he started breaking into the corner. Back on the throttle, DRS open. What's he going to have at the line? And it's going to be P4 for Dace. 0.83 seconds. 0.83 faster than his previous attempt. However, that only puts him 5th. Elma Jacko, however, has just gone purple Sector 3, and he will go 2nd. Just under 2/10 slower than NFS Lightwork, who, by the way, on an outlap of his own. Next to the line, I believe, is a Mercedes. Is it Dusty Lusky? Well, he's one of them, and he's actually getting quite a good tow from the McLaren ahead. I wonder if this is a timed lap for Dusty Lusky then. It doesn't quite look like it is. So the line was the Mercedes then of Mickey 64. I believe he has just put himself 11th. And now Dusty Lusky, I believe, is going to drive across the curb and through the grass and into the pits. All right, well, that's that. NFS Lightwork making his way into the final chicane now. I believe this is, or this next one will be his timed lap. This next one will be. On the throttle he goes. 6 minutes and 10 seconds roughly left in the session. 8th gear, heading down into La Source, stays through 3rd, just kisses the inside curb going through the corner. Back on the throttle, down the support series, pit straight, back up the hill then, through its Radeon actually. Back on the throttle, heading for the Kemmel Straight now. What has he got? What kind of speeds is he pulling here? The best that we've seen is about 340 kilometers an hour, and he's right on it as well as he heads into Lacombe then. He's about, I believe that said, about 1/10 and a half faster at this moment in time. Oh, and he spun it round then, and that's coming out of Lacombe, heading down towards Rivage, and I'm afraid that has thrown away an otherwise good-looking timed lap attempt then, is that Aston Martin of NFS Lightwork, and that is not what you wanted to see, because really, that might just leave the door open for a competitor such as Majako, such as Dace. This one could be quite interesting here. 5 minutes to go in the session. Got Smith Pell making his way through Puhan now. It doesn't look like he's going to be on a competitive lap. We do have the McLaren. Impossible Bacon joining us for this race as he makes his way now through Blanchimont, heading in towards the final chicane. Let's see what he has. This is his first time lap attempt as well. I'm going to predict top 10 from him. To the line he goes, and yep, P8, 144.103. That's actually quite a good lap there. From Impossible Bacon. I say quite good. I mean, maybe Lightwork makes it look a bit silly, but that's a really, really competitive lap there from Bacon. Lightwork has absolutely just smashed his timed lap attempt as Bacon making his way now back through that. I believe we've just had the Aston Martin of Lightwork. Is he going to be starting another timed lap? He hasn't looked too decisive then on coming into the pits. Mind you, his tires now are going to be a couple laps old. His recharge is on, so I would go ahead and say that maybe this won't be I mean, he's got less than 50% battery, 4 minutes to go in the session. He's just really not got time to waste, has he? Neither has El Majaco, neither has Dace, who Dace behind on an out lap. To the timing line he goes now. What has he got? I'm assuming it's going to be a little bit slow, and yeah, it's about 7/10 of a... Oh, God. Okay, well, suddenly he's turned his Aston Martin into a rally car. As he now makes his way through Rivage. I'm assuming he's trying to get back to the pits, get back, put on perhaps another fresh set of tires, refuel so he can at least make the out lap and then a timed. As you can see, I'm assuming he'll take this corner flat out here, and, well, he pretty much does. He's invalidated anyways. Jacko on an out lap. We've got Dace behind, currently sits 5th. He's on his out lap. I'm actually really quite interested to see this one. Also, his teammate of A-Dub on an out lap as well. So Jacko, Lancey, Dace, Dusty, A-Dub, and Nicky64 on out laps at the moment. I believe we did just have... Got the Mercedes there. Nicky's on an out lap. Shariah, is he on a timed one at this moment? Well, he's getting a tow from the Red Bull ahead. To the timing line he goes. The Red Bull finally is going to move out of the way. He's about 2/10 slower, but he still has a lot of lap left to do here. Now, light work on his way into the pits as we expected. Dace making his way onto a timed lap now. Has he invalidated this and next? No, he hasn't. Here he goes now. Dace on his way to make an effort at pole position here. Through La Source he goes. This would be crucial for the AlphaTauri team if they can claim that pole point, which it looks like at this moment in time, El Majaco not able to do yet. 2 minutes left in the session. Through Al Rouge and Radion he goes down the Kemmel straight now. Flat out on the Red Bull powertrain. Powered... Well, I don't know where I'm going with that. On the AlphaTauri as he heads now into Lacombe then. He's got 1 minute and 40 seconds left in the session. Through Rivage he goes. The Ferrari ahead, I believe that is El Majaco to the line. He's going to be starting his timed lap now, it seems. Got Dace about 1/10 faster that was through Sector 1. He does have some traffic ahead. He's got the Haas of Knuckles around the outside. He's got the Alpine of whoever that is as he heads into campus now. Holds it nicely on exit, stays through 5th gear. He'll be coming up to the timing line here in a second. What does Dace have? About 2.5 faster. It's purple Sector 2 from the AlphaTauri ahead. He has an Aston Martin, and that is, it's not light work. Who is on an out lap. He's got 50 seconds to make it back around. How much does this Aston Martin get in the way, then, of Dace's time lap attempt? I'm assuming Galloway is also on a time lap, and he is right in the way, then, of Dace. As they come around the line now, this might be crucial. That Aston Martin has refused to get out of the way. Dace to the line only improves by 6/100ths of a second, and you have to think, how much has M. Galloway gotten in the way of the AlphaTauri of Dace? It looks like quite a lot, as he was on pace for an absolutely smashing lap then, and he's not able to make that happen. NFS Lightwork on an out lap, he's got 15 seconds to make it back to the line, and it doesn't look like the Aston Martin is going to be able to do it as he hits the wall there, loses his front wing, so that will end the qualifying session there for the Aston Martin of NFS Lightwork. Meanwhile, El Majaco making his way now in towards the final chicane. He's got the AlphaTauri of A-Dub ahead. Lightwork has done all he can do. El Majaco out of the final corner now, full throttle, DRS open. El Majaco, does he have it? And he does! By 8/100ths of a second, it's El Majaco on provisional pole. But still, to complete the lap is Jonathan Dunk, 2/10 faster through Sector 1 already. We have the Red Bull of Lancey to the line now. All he can do is P4. Actually not able to improve there. We do have as well A-Dub on his way into the pits. Dace not able to put in a better attempt either. So now it really is, does M. Galloway have anything? He's actually 5/10, almost 6/10 of a second faster through Sector 2 so far. Does M. Galloway perhaps have a reach for pole here? Jonathan Dunk is on a lap as well. Dace wasn't able to improve. Smith Pell in behind now currently, the Aston Martin of M. Galloway. This is the driver who impeded the progress of Dace, or so we think. Coming out of the final chicane, a lap ago to the line, goes M. Galloway. All he can manage is 6th. That's not a bad lap. Smith Pell to the line. All he can manage is P3, actually. That's a great lap there from Smith Pell, if I say so myself. Dace on his way into the pits. Knuckles, can he manage anything heading into the final chicane? It doesn't look like he will, and he will be pulling aside. And now, all that's left is Jonathan Dunk heading into the final chicane. He's just over a 10th faster through Sector 3. Coming to the line goes the Alfa Romeo. Does he have it? Oh, and he's got P3, 3/10 of a second faster than his previous time. And it's Elma Jacko on pole. NFS Lightworks second, Jonathan Duncan third, and Elma Jacko needed that point for Ferrari, and boy, do they have it. Wow. Elma Jacko did what he needed to do. He saw the opportunity when it presented itself, and he is on pole for Ferrari, but he's got quite a few quick drivers in behind. NFS Lightwork to his opposite side, and Jonathan Duncan behind. This one will be an unbelievably entertaining Grand Prix here at Spa. Elma Jacko on pole, NFS Lightwork second, Jonathan Duncan third. All the top three within 2/10 of a second. Everyone down to, I believe it was P8 or P9 within a second. Highly competitive here in the Coleslaw Cup. So once again, Elma Jacko on pole in the Ferrari, Lightwork in second, Jonathan Duncan third, Smith Pell fourth, Lancey fifth, Impossible Bacon sixth, sixth, seventh is Dace, 8th is Galloway, 9th is Dusty, 10th A-Dub, 11th is Nicky 64, 12th Shirai Coleslaw, 13th Knuckles, 14th Valentine, VTech Slayer Ice, KBO7 and Tweezer were not able to put in timed lap attempts. It's been an unbelievably critical qualifying session then. Let's get into the race. So here we go then, ladies and gentlemen. 20 seconds until our formation lap begins. Just want to say, from myself, Hotspot, it's been an absolute pleasure casting most of this season. Of course, I wasn't here last week, and I think I missed another week prior in the season. Last week, out in Great Britain, I had not managed to return from my trip to Las Vegas just yet, and I think I missed a great one as well. Quite upset, actually, that I wasn't able to catch that. But here we are, formation lap underway, the final round of the Coleslaw Cup season. The implications in play for this race, absolutely second to none. Let's go over our tire ages at this moment in time. According to the game, from what I've seen, soft tire will last you 7 to 10 laps, medium 12 to 15, the hards 15 to 20. 22 laps on tap for tonight. Only one driver has chosen to start on the softs. That would be the McLaren of Impossible Bacon. With 6 drivers on the hards, that being Lightwork, Dusty Lusky, A-Dub, Shariah, Valentine, and VTech. Everyone else has chosen the mediums, and I think, honestly, that may have been the best decision as well. Whenever you get hard tires off the start, that typically is not very good. Again, to be honest, it's very tricky to make a good start here on the hard tires. A-Dub starting 10th, Dace starting 7th. Huge race then. As I currently just feed the driver live points into the thing here. So it's Elma Jacko on pole. Scornsy hasn't showed up. It's fairly obvious at this point that it will be Elma Jacko being the driver's champion. A title which has not really come all that easy to him. He's had a couple of races this year where things, I would say, not necessarily gone his way, and he's had some that the luck has ended up in his favor. You remember that race at Singapore where he took the win from Scornsy, and then you remember the race at Miami where Scornsy took the win from him. In very similar circumstances, very late safety car was the culprit behind that one. We'll have to wait and see what is produced here. Elma Jacko making his way to his starting grid spot. He'll have to maintain control of that inside line going into turn 1. NFS Lightwork on the hard tires. He's going to be at quite a big disadvantage, considering he's got Jonathan Dunk on the inside, Smith Pellin behind, Lancian behind him. NFS Lightwork's going to have to get off to a great start here if he wants to keep that second spot. And I tell you what, that outside going into the source is not always the safest place to be. I'll tell you that much. Charles Leclerc knows that much. Romain Grosjean knows that as well. Whole slew of drivers being disqualified from the formation lap, so it looks like we will be getting underway here shortly. And now, the final round of the Coleslaw Cup. We have lights turning on with 4, then 5, and finally, for the last time this year, they are off. Elma Jacko off the line, I think, gets a much better start then. It looks like NFS Lightwork already under pressure from Smith Pell as they go into the corner. It's about 3 abreast there. Jonathan Dunk way down to the inside. Oh, and Smith Pell goes around. Dace manages to get through. A-Dub manages to get through. It's a huge incident then. NFS Lightwork spinning around off the start immediately. It's a huge jumbling mess. NFS Lightwork off the line was not able to get away on his hard tires, and he falls down all the way back to P17, and we've got Tweezer. The Williams has DNF'd at the top of Radion then, and that will be a virtual safety car on track. And wow, that couldn't have been a worse start for NFS Lightwork. Majaka was able to get away nicely. Jonathan Dunk had went deep into the first corner. That put him at a disadvantage. Dace managed to somehow get up into third. Impossible Bacon found the light into fourth. Dusty Lusky found it up to 5th. A-Dub up 4 positions into 6th for him. Shiraya up 4. Knuckles up 4. KBO7 crucially up 5. Elma Jacko retains the first spot, but NFS Lightwork off the start. I don't know if contact was made or he just lost the car. I know that Smith Pell was on pace for a great start, and then suddenly he was around. I believe he got perhaps contact from behind. I'm thinking it was either Dace or was it perhaps that of Lancy? They were both kind of in that section of track then. It's hard to tell. Impossible Bacon at the moment trying to find... Oh, we got a Mercedes off. That's Dusty Lusky, and that's a big crash. And that is right in the middle of the circuit there. The McLaren and the Alfa Romeo both having to take evasive measures, and the Williams of Valentine has gone off as well. That's a lot of debris on the circuit. I wouldn't be surprised if we get another virtual safety car. Impossible Bacon looking for it now on Dace as they head into the final chicane. As we complete the first lap, we've had 1 retirement and several front wing changes needed to be made. Knuckles and Galloway side by side there. It's almost 3 abreast going out of the final corner, and finally KBO7 around the outside as well picks up 9 positions off the opening lap. Unbelievable stuff. And we do have a yellow flag, and that is M. Galloway, and he has spun it round in the middle of the straight and then resets to track in the process. Dusty Lusky and Smith Pell on their way in. NFS Lightwork, despite his poor start, has rebounded up to 10th. And that, I guess, is probably best case scenario after the start he has had. Impossible Bacon now within 4/10 on Dace, heading into Lacombe then. And we said it's all to play for off the start, and KBO7 has made up 9 positions. It looks like now VTech and Slayerize were side by side there for a moment, and it looks like it was the Alfa Romeo, then a VTech, who's managed to get around, and it looks like we have another yellow flag off towards the back. Perhaps was it Nicky 64? And yes, it is. He's lost the entirety of his front wing, and that is not good at all for that Mercedes driver. Actually, the Mercedes team in general, as Dusty Lusky, mind you, as well, has fallen down to P16. And that is as well Smith Pell, who did not get a good start at all. He's down 13 spots since the beginning, and now finally, Jonathan Dunk only now is able to break the second barrier back to Elma Jacko. Remember, DRS will be enabled this next time by Impossible Bacon. Oh, and no, and Dace has gone around! And that is not good at all for championship contenders AlphaTauri. Thankfully, it doesn't look like he's lost much of the front wing of the car. Doesn't look like much damage at all then for the AlphaTauri. He finally regains his composure and falls from 3rd down to 12th. And I suppose now AlphaTauri might be hoping for a miracle, as KBO7 is up 10 spots since the start. A-Dub hasn't been able, he's gained 5, but they're going to need a lot more than that considering Majako in the lead. And Dace down to 12th. Still a lot of Grand Prix left to go, 20 laps at that. But goodness gracious, the action unfolding in the early stages. So much already, and you could see how much A-Dub's struggling on those hard tires going up through Radion then. Looks like the car on absolute ice going up the hill, and somehow he's kept it together as he now hunts down the Red Bull of Lancey, currently in 4th. 0.5 of a second or less. El Majaco has opened up a lead of about 1.5 seconds. Back to Jonathan Dunk. Jonathan Dunk's got 1.5 seconds back to Bacon. Bacon's got almost 2 seconds back to Lancey. We're going to take a break from that battle in a minute. Eneves Lightwork doing his best now, trying to strike at the Haas of Knuckles within this next lap. We also have Dace, who will need to make a move on Slayerized. I believe we have Dusty Lusky, who has just spun it, coming out of Radion then, and that is not good at all. His day going from bad to worse rather quickly. And now here's Dace. Does he have anything for Slayerized ahead? Only 0.4 of a second between himself and the McLaren. Dace needs to rebound here for the sake of his team, for the sake of himself. The rest of the grid has spread out pretty much. Here's KBO7. He's within 0.4 of a second. We're going to go on with Lightwork for a second. He and Knuckles side by side heading through Blanchimont then. And it looks like, oh, Knuckles way into the grass there. Dace managing to get around Slayerized as well. The dirt getting in the way up ahead. And somehow they've found themselves okay. KBO7 within 0.5 second of Shariah Coleslaw ahead. And who will have the advantage heading into the first corner? KBO7 has the speed. He also has the inside line. Shariah's on the hards. Down into the first corner. KBO7 making the overtake happen. And that was a beautiful maneuver there from the Ferrari driver, who by and large has had himself a very up and down season. And on the day where he needs to produce some results, he's absolutely doing that, up 11 spots since the start. He's kept it clean, and he's keeping it all to himself. But Shariah Coleslaw in hot pursuit, trying to have it around the left-hand side, and Shariah Coleslaw, I think, is going to relatively have that one with ease. As heading into Lacombe, he's already put 0.3 of a second back to KBO7. Meanwhile, Dace, down to the inside on VTEC. Now, this is a very tricky corner to go side by side with someone, and Dace has realized that and back down to the overtaking maneuver. Jonathan Dunk back to within 1 second of Majaco, but for now, Jonathan Dunk has had absolutely nothing for the Ferrari driver up ahead. KBO7, mind you, 0.4 of a second away from Shariah Coleslaw. Dace, 0.3 behind VTEC as they head into Pouhon. This day really will be, and has been so far, the day, depending on which driver makes the least amount of mistakes. And at this moment in time, it certainly looks as if the least amount of mistakes has belonged to the Ferrari team. On a day where they needed it as well, only a 16-point cushion between themselves and AlphaTauri 1, not necessarily comfortable at all. Dace is going to have a good exit, though, of Stavelot then, and he might have a go at VTEC. Meanwhile, Jonathan Dunk within 0.8 of Jacko ahead, but not enough to make anything happen. Lightwork, can he find the outside around KBO7, heading through the final chicane? Has he got the opportunity? No, he hasn't. It was a very good try, and he even did the right thing, trying to make sure that KBO7 was slotted in behind the Alpine then of Shariah Coleslaw in order to give himself the best opportunity for overtaking, but KBO7 was able to power his way out of that one. Jonathan Dunk, 0.6 of a second away from El Majaco, although the gap staying rather stagnant. It looks as if Jonathan Dunk will have to get El Majaco on some other part of the circuit, because at this moment the Ferrari's got him absolutely matched, even beaten on raw pace. NFS Lightwork within 0.3 on KBO7. KBO7 within 0.3 of Shariah Coleslaw, but neither of them able to make the overtake. Dace has gotten around VTEC then. Nicely done from Dace, getting that position, winning one back as he needed it. And now KBO7 within a couple of tenths of Shariah Coleslaw, but more importantly, Jonathan Dunk has shaved about 0.2 of a second off of El Majaco. A gap which 2 laps ago was over 1.5 seconds. And now Jonathan Dunk might be closing down that Ferrari. Meanwhile, still great battling here within the midfield. It looks like VTEC starting to fall off of that of Dace, as it's now up to 0.7 of a second, but Jonathan Dunk clawing down the impending champion of El Majaco for the lead of the Grand Prix. Heading into the final corner, does Jonathan Dunk have anything? It's not going to be during braking, but if Jonathan Dunk can get away better than the Ferrari ahead, he might have a move within the DRS down into La Source, or perhaps down into Kemmel. Impossible Bacon, who started on the softs, into the pits for him. And no, the AlphaTauri of Dace, a 3-second penalty, and that's not going to help him at all. Jonathan Dunk still within 0.5 of a second coming out of La Source. He might have a good run here, exiting Radion then. 0.3 of a second. El Majaco a little bit slow going up the hill. Jonathan Dunk might have a move here with the DRS. The Alfa Romeo of Jonathan Dunk, does he have anything? He's still within the slipstream then of El Majaco. Is he going to have it down the inside? Is it going to be clean down the inside? Side by side heading into Lacombe then, and Jonathan Dunk has the move into the braking zone. That was a brilliant maneuver from the Alfa Romeo. And we have the Aston Martin of M. Galloway, who has gone off, exiting Stavolo then. Shariah Coleslaw, KBO7, they're swapping positions, heading through Lacombe. Heading through Lacombe then, NFS Lightwork in on this as well, and he now gaining time on the Ferrari. Oh, KBO7 just ran clean into the back of the Alpine of Shariah Coleslaw, and now we have about a 5-car battle here for what is eventually this 5th spot. We have Shariah, KB, the Aston Martin of Lightwork, Knuckles, and I believe Dace working his way in on this battle as well. Yes, 5 cars in pursuit of 5th place. And M. Galloway is retired in the pits. NFS Lightwork down to the inside. Is he able to make anything of KBO7 heading through campus and into Stavolo? Then it doesn't look like he'll be able to. But should the Aston Martin get a good run, he might have that overtake happen. El Majaco is struggling now to keep the gap back to Jonathan Dunk within the second, but NFS Lightwork really in the slipstream of the Ferrari now. Does he have anything heading through? Blanchimont then heading towards the final chicane. It's going to be a close one here. Right on the gearbox then, heading into the corner. Does he choose to outbrake the Ferrari around the outside? It certainly looks like that's what's going to happen. I think he's gone a little bit wide, and he may not get the overtake after all. Wheel-to-wheel contact being made there. That may open the door for Dace with the DRS himself. He's going to get past the Aston Martin of NFS Lightwork heading into the first corner. He might get 2 if he tries for KBO7, and he doesn't. I think he really nearly bit off a little bit more than he could chew there. El Majaco is able to stay within a second of Jonathan Dunk, but I don't think it's going to be enough to make an overtake happen this time by necessarily Dace within 0.2 of KBO7 ahead. A-Dub has found his way into the 4th spot, Dace up to 7th. Now mind you, Dace has the 3-second time penalty, which at this moment in time will drop him a considerable amount of positions. Dusty Lusky, he has had really some trouble leaving and rejoining the session all race so far. That's about the 3rd time he's left and joined. NFS Lightwork finds himself very close in this battle now. When you're in a huge battle with a big group of cars like this, it really is just keeping your wits about you, making sure you don't make any mistakes that could potentially take you or your fellow competitors out. And hopefully we see the essence of that as Dace trying to find a way around KBO7. Now KB, I will say, has been decently vulnerable these past couple laps. He almost had Lightwork find the way around him last time, and now Dace, I believe, might be able to capitalize on KBO7. It looks like the Ferrari really struggling for straight line speed, as well as it seems Majaco's in that boat as well, as Majaco is unable now to stay within a second of Jonathan Dunk, and now Jonathan Dunk he will have the aid of El Majaco not having DRS behind. Here's Dace. Does he have anything for KBO7 heading into the chicane? He's going to try around the outside. He's got the Alpine of Shariah Coleslaw in the way. Still down to the bottom of KBO7. KB's going to get better acceleration on the outside, and KBO7 is able to keep the spot. Very nicely done there from the Ferrari. He's had to defend like a lion today, and it's only the 8th lap of the Grand Prix. And now we see, once again, is anybody going to be able to make the move down the Kemmel Straight? It looks like Dace might be on the heels of KBO7. Who gets the better go through Radion then? It looks like Shariah Coleslaw, all he's had to do is keep it mistake-free. He hasn't had to worry about defending behind that much at all. And it looks like it may stay that way, but only just, as KBO7 now within 0.3 of a second of Shariah Coleslaw is ahead. Dace within 0.4 of KB, and it looks like as Slayerized, the 2 McLarens going at it now. They were side by side. Impossible Bacon gets shoved out of the way, and Valentine and Slayerized find their way through. Slayerized picking up 3 seconds for multiple warnings. I believe that will put him up to 6. It does. Unbelievable amounts of action here. This is what the Coleslaw Cup is all about. 0.2 of a second between Dace and KBO7 for the 6th spot. Mind you, Dace still has the 3-second time penalty he will need to navigate, but you have to think as well, it's still the round of pit stops to come for this group of drivers that might play in to help a little bit. Oh, big wiggle then for Dace, coming out of campus then, heading into Stabilo, and NFS Lightwork might have a move here, and it doesn't look as if Lightwork was able to capitalize. Impossible Bacon finding his way around Valentine then, but quite the opposite. Valentine on the outside of the McLaren. Heading now through Blanchimont. It's a very tricky spot to go side by side through. It looks like Valentine will have the line. Oh, but he's had to go into the grass, and Bacon will go down to the inside, and he will get around. But meanwhile, KBO7 and Dace, wheel to wheel, coming out of the final corner. Heading now down into La Source. Does Dace have anything down to the inside? KBO7, he's going to make contact with the Alpine ahead, and Dace will make contact with the Ferrari, and they both go around! Unbelievable turn of events here. KBO7 goes around, Dace goes around, and both of them now dropping down the order. Mind you, KBO7 has been able to recover quite easily, but now he's lost the right front end plate after, I think, making contact with the McLaren ahead. Impossible Bacon going down to the inside. He's going to have that move over KBO7, and behind it is Slayerized and Valentine. They're side by side. KBO7 still in this, and I tell you what, KBO7 had a pretty flawless day to this point, but it has not stayed that way, and now he has to deal with what I'm assuming is either green or yellow wing here. Dusty Lusky once again joining and leaving the session multiple times. Slayerized around the outside. He's got Dace down to the inside. Knuckles and Shariah Coleslaw. Oh, and Shariah Coleslaw's going around, and that is right in the way of pretty much all the drivers. That's coming out of the no-name corner. And he has fallen now down to 13th position. And the drama unfolding here. Now Dace, can he find a way again around KBO7? This time does it happen without incident? And mind you, I don't necessarily believe it was Dace's fault the first time. He had KBO7 careen into the back of Shariah Coleslaw. I think Dace got a little... he went a little late on the brakes as well. All of it just a big conundrum. That's some collision to the right rear tire of the Ferrari ahead. Down to the inside looks Dace. He might have to make a pass through the grass. Mind you, KBO7 is going to be lacking not only straight line speed but downforce as well. Dace does not want to stay side by side with the Ferrari for long. Oh, and he's completely turned him around. KBO7, Slayerized, has not been able to finish the Grand Prix, and we have a safety car on track. And I tell you what, Dace, I'm not sure, has much excuse for that one. He's gone clean into the rear then of KBO7. I believe he's lost front wing as well. No, it doesn't look like he has. This is just going to be a planned stop then for Dace. But, goodness gracious. Now, Elma Jacko, Jonathan Dunk, the two leaders of the Grand Prix, as well as the Mercedes, and I believe Dusty Lusky ahead, as well as Lancey, as well as A-Dub behind. They're going to have to wait until they come back around. It's such a shame to see the battle between Dace and KB end up that way. As by God, it was some brilliant racing, and it all fell apart. We're going to stay until these drivers pass through to the safety car to see who comes in and who doesn't. I'm going to tabulate points quite quickly. Goodness gracious, that... You just never want to see a battle end up like that, you really... Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Drivers coming in. Jonathan Dunk, as to be expected. Majako. Look at the graining taking place on the tires then of those in the mediums. Lancey, predictably. A-Dub, I think, well, he's going to come in as well. That's a bold call there, being on the hards. I mean, the mediums can last you 12 to 15 laps, yeah. This might end up well for A-Dub if he can make the tires last to the end. Base has got 3 seconds for multiple warnings there, I'm afraid. Lots of drivers choosing to come in now. NFS Lightwork has rebounded to 5th. Knuckles in, Bacon in, Valentine in, VTech in, Dace. I would assume, yeah, well, he's on the fresh hards then. Looks like Knuckles and Lightwork trading positions there, so. Oh, and what's this? Lancey has somehow gotten out ahead of Elma Jacko in the pits. Jonathan Dunk has first, Lancey second, Jacko third. And as the safety car works its way around, I will step aside. So, ladies and gentlemen, as the safety car is in this lap, currently Ferrari lead the AlphaTauri team by 25 points. The score 314 to 289. 25 points with about half a Grand Prix left to go. This has been, to this point, an absolutely incredible Grand Prix. Drama at every corner, literally and figuratively. It has been one hell of a Grand Prix so far, with lots of drama, already some controversy, and hopefully it will have a great conclusion as well. Jonathan Dunk in the lead. Lancey was somehow able to get around Elma Jacko whilst in the pit lane, so he has been promoted up to second. A-Dub up 6 spots, Knuckles up 7, Valentine up 6, and now back to green flag racing here momentarily. If we look and see what tires people are on, it's Nikki 64, 5-second penalty for a collision with Smith Pell, and that down there in P13. And it looks like we've had a yellow flag already towards the back. Someone has perhaps gone around. A-Dub has taken fresh mediums, Lightwork fresh mediums, Bacon, Valentine, VTech, Shariah, all on fresh medium tires. This one has suddenly turned into pace now versus pace later. And that is an incredible battle to be a part of. Elma Jacko, at this moment, has A-Dub in behind. A-Dub's going to look around the left-hand side, heading into Lacombe, who has the advantage going into the corner, side by side, but eventually A-Dub decides to back off for now. His teammate of Dace in a battle with Valentine back there for P8, both of them sitting on 3-second time penalties. Lightwork looking to get back into the top rest of the top 5 after the start that he had, spinning out after exiting La Source. He'll be looking to strike back. Jonathan Dunk already a second gap over Lancey in second. A-Dub looking to find his way past Majako now, but Majako has had a better exit of Puhan then, and it's almost 4/10 of a second the gap between those two. Lightwork, by the way, has invited himself into this battle, and now he is closing in on A-Dub and the rest of the podium. Impossible Bacon's gone quite deep there, I believe, as he perhaps either missed his braking point or decided to avoid the Aston Martin ahead of Enevis Lightwork. Both of those definitely possible. Valentine's gone around! And his front wing has littered the exit of Stavilo then. That might have to be a virtual safety car. And I gotta say, Dace was in that battle as well. Now, we saw what happened between himself and KBO7 before the safety car had come out. And I'm hoping no more contact was made there. The field, although all of them right close together, they're decently spread out as well, as not really one battle within, about half a second comfortably. Aside that of Dace, who's looking to get around Knuckles now, heading up through Radion. Who gets the better pace coming out of the corner? Both drivers have chosen the hard tires. Does Dace have anything for the Haas ahead? And it doesn't look like he does. Meanwhile, A-Dub's still within 3/10 of Elma Jacko. KBO7 has fallen down to 11th. Only 1 point to be scored from him. Majako 3rd, A-Dub 4th. Should A-Dub perhaps find a way onto the podium or even to win the race, this championship battle might take a different turn. I think Dace will have to score more than just a measly, 2 points? Sorry, 5 points. Mickey 64 leaving the session then. VTech within a couple of tenths on Dace here. Dace has 6 seconds of penalty to negate here. Meanwhile ahead, 2/10 of a second between A-Dub and El Majaco. You can see Jacko, unfortunately to say, looks to be struggling for pace, as now a second between himself and Lancey. This was the same problem that he had when battling Jonathan Dunk. As soon as he got outside of the slipstream range, as soon as he found his way outside of DRS, he couldn't really claw his way back into battling for any spots ahead. The battling for El Majaco really has taken place all behind him. He's had to be on the defensive end for most of it. However, Lancey has not gotten a good exit of the final corner there, and El Majaco might have a move eventually. It looks like that is NFS Lightwork in 5th, has just set the fastest lap of the race. He'll be taking that point at this moment in time. But El Majaco, a couple of tenths back to Lancey. It looks like Jacko's not had the best go then through Radion, and he's got A-Dub to his left side. He's got the slipstream of Lancey ahead, heading into Lacombe. Who has the better position going into Lacombe then? And it looks as if A-Dub wasn't able to make the move happen. But a move that was able to be made happen, Dace was able to get around Knuckles, and he's gotten around VTech as well. He's been able to put VTech behind, who VTech, by the way, battling then with that Haas of Knuckles, and that's been a good battle as well. Dace still has 6 seconds of penalty. He'll have to navigate, and I think at this moment that will put him outside the points. And I say the points, outside the top 10, really. He will still get 1 point from 11th down to 20th position. However, that is just simply going to be not enough for Dace and the AlphaTauri team. NFS Lightwork has both the AlphaTauri of A-Dub and the Ferrari of El Majaco in his sights. He's also got Impossible Bacon in behind. Don't forget about that. Lightwork gaining on A-Dub here. A-Dub not exactly getting any closer then to El Majaco. He's actually fallen back about 2/10 since the beginning of this lap. Into the final chicane now. Does Lightwork have a go at the AlphaTauri here? Majaco, I don't think, has gotten the best go through the new bus stop chicane, and now that finds A-Dub right up against the gearbox of El Majaco heading into La Source. Remember, DRS is enabled, although it's not really playing into that much favor. That's a big lockup behind for the Aston Martin of Lightwork. Now remember, last time through, A-Dub got a much better go through Arouge and Radion than El Majaco. Does that hold true as well now? El Majaco a second behind to the Red Bull ahead of Lancey. It really is El Majaco in quite a difficult spot here, as every car behind him immediately, aside from Impossible Bacon, has DRS. A-Dub still not able to get within enough of a gap to try and overtake the Ferrari ahead. Meanwhile, Lancey seems to have made a mistake somewhere, as now he's fallen back within a second of El Majaco. NFS Lightwork right up against the gearbox of A-Dub then. Does NFS Lightwork insert himself into this battle between two drivers competing for their own respective championships here? El Majaco, which really has claimed the Drivers' Championship on account of Scorsese not showing up. But there is still some time left for that Constructors' Championship to be decided if Armageddon takes place. NFS Lightwork within 3/10 of A-Dub ahead. I think he's gotten a much better go of Stabilo then. Lightwork down to the inside. The Aston Martin, both drivers on fresh medium tires. It's side by side through Blanchimont then. This is not a comfortable place to be going side by side. And A-Dub is going to cede position then to the Aston Martin ahead. And now Lightwork, the current owner of the fastest lap, will be able to hunt down El Majaco and relegate him even further. Although I don't think he's gotten the best exit of the final chicane then. It actually looked like it was a bit of a task getting the car back up to throttle then and pulling away. Up through Radion then. Lancey, he's within a second of Jonathan Dunk, but it looks as if Lancey is only able to claw back at him when he has DRS. Jonathan Dunk already about to push the gap back outside of a second. NFS Lightwork 3/10 of a second away from El Majaco as they head down into Rivage. Impossible Bacon, remember, in this battle as well, although I don't want to say he's taken more of a back seat, but it looks as if he's playing it rather conservatively, perhaps waiting for the nuclear option to happen up ahead, and perhaps some carnage to be held. NFS Lightwork 0.2 of a second away from El Majaco. This Aston Martin, ever since the end of the safety car, has been flying. A driver who needs some redemption in this race after starting in second place and then spinning out after the first corner on the first lap, has clawed his way back to fourth. And now within 0.3 of a second of the Ferrari driver on the podium of El Majaco. Meanwhile, his teammate of KBO7 down to 12th. It's not been a good day for KBO7. He's going to need a lot, and he's going to need a lot to go right up ahead. Lancey, as my remarks earlier have apparently been made false, now starting to claw back to Jonathan Dunk here. NFS Lightwork fast lap 1:47 flat, just about. Impossible Bacon finds his way now within 0.3 of A-Dub ahead as they exit La Source. Who gets the best getaway? It looks like it was that of A-Dub. A-Dub, mind you, now outside of a 1.5 seconds to the Aston Martin ahead, who is clawing away at El Majaco, and I think El Majaco's going to be in a tough spot here, as he's not going to have DRS, and he's got Lightwork in behind on medium tires, and NFS Lightwork is going to claim the third spot even before the braking zone into Lacombe. Impossible Bacon's picked up 3 seconds for multiple warnings. Himself and A-Dub side by side. Impossible Bacon is able, for now, to keep the spot. A-Dub's going to try to switch it back down to the inside, and it hasn't paid off for the AlphaTauri there. Impossible Bacon able to take the spot. VTech wants it over Dace. Does VTech have anything down to the inside? Oh, and that's big contact! No! And Dace into the wall! And VTech and Dace go around. Valentine is retired from the session at the top of Radion, and we are looking at a safety car with no time left. 5 laps to go. 4.5, less than that, really. And the safety car on track. Now, who decides to come in? Who decides to stay out? Dace has been relegated down to 12th. And if you're KBO7, you could be quoting Fernando Alonso here and saying karma. Because Dace finds himself in a bit of trouble, and now AlphaTauri really need themselves a miracle. And I'm afraid the miracle may not happen. Jonathan Dunk stays out, Lancey stays out, Lightwork stays out, Jacko the same, Bacon, A-Dub, Knuckles is the next driver up. Does Knuckles choose to come in? No, he doesn't. No for Shariah. Smith Pell does. VTech does as well. Dace does as well. And I think for them, it's about, okay, there's not really much there's left for me to lose. It's time for me to come in and perhaps throw the Hail Mary. And as the safety car finds its way in, I will step aside. So, ladies and gentlemen, the safety car is in this lap. Dace has retired from the session, and that will officially make the Ferrari team Constructors champions. I think either which way. I don't think it's going to matter. Should Dace have stayed in the race, A-Dub miraculously found his way to the win. All they would need to do is find 6 points. And it's not panned out that way. It will be Ferrari Constructors champions. KBO7, I mean, you can't take away 6 points from him. He's scoring 4 at this point in time. Not only is El Majaco locked up the Drivers' Championship, it looks like Ferrari, after all is said and done, will be Drivers' Champions. But there is 2 laps to go after the safety car comes in. Despite the championship being over with, we still have a great race to unfold here. A-Dub getting around Impossible Bacon. That's a brilliant maneuver. Lightwork, can he find his way around Lancey, perhaps for the second spot? It may deem tricky here. I don't think he's going to have time. He's certainly not going to have DRS to make it happen. Only this lap and 1 more to go. DRS won't be enabled for the remainder of the Grand Prix. KBO7 now side by side with Smith Pell. And it looks as if Smith Pell getting around KBO7 there. I mean, AlphaTauri would still need A-Dub to win and then find pretty much 4 more points. That's just not going to happen. Side by side with Shariah Coleslaw is KBO7 exiting No Name now. Shariah falling off there. It looks like VTech's going to get around him as well. We're going to have just a lap and a half to go now. Jonathan Dunk already out to almost a 1.2 second lead. Lacy behind, light work behind him. Elma Jacko, all he's got to do is finish nice and clean. A-Dub has fallen a second and a half outside of Elma Jacko unless... Oh, and hang on just a minute. Lightwork has spun around, coming out of Stavilo then. And that is unfortunately NFS Lightwork, who did so much to find himself back into the hunt for the lead. It all comes crumbling down for him. Impossible Bacon battling it out here with A-Dub. Bacon on 3 seconds of penalty. Final lap of the Grand Prix, Lancey has 8.5 tenths back to Jonathan Dunk. I'm not too sure he's going to be able to claw this one back. Jonathan Dunk on the hards as well. Unless Jonathan Dunk makes an error and opens the door for Lancey, it's not really going to happen. Nikki 64, fastest lap, 1:46.573 on the softs. Lancey not going to be able to claw back Jonathan Dunk here. Impossible Bacon, does he have anything for A-Dub? Going down into Lacombe, it doesn't appear so. VTech making the move around the outside, actually, on KBO7. That was a brilliant maneuver, that one. On the soft tires as well as VTech. Cutting through the field now, and VTech, 3 seconds of time penalty. That's not going to help him. Heading down through Buhan now. 8.5 tenths from Jonathan Dunk back to Lancey. It looks like Smith Pell and Impossible Bacon exchanging details there. As Smith Pell has managed to get around Impossible Bacon. P6, P7, and P8 all sitting on 3 seconds of time penalty. Smith Pell, 4 tenths of a second back to A-Dub. But I'm afraid that's not what's going to matter here. Jonathan Dunk making his way through Blanchimont now. Heading into the final chicane, the Alfa Romeo of Jonathan Dunk has really played this one to a T. He will come out of the final corner to win the Belgian Grand Prix. Lancey in second, Elma Jacko claiming the Drivers' Championship, and he will also have Ferrari win the Constructors' Championship here in the Coleslaw Cup. It's an absolutely brilliant season for Majacco and Ferrari. They did all they needed to do. They kept it clean. And they are rightfully champions of the Coleslaw, I guess. So after it's all said and done in an absolutely brilliant season of the Coleslaw Cup, it ends with Jonathan Dunk taking the win, Lancey second, Elma Jacko claiming third, as well as the Drivers' Championship, A-Dub fourth, Bacon fifth, VTech sixth, Shariah seventh, eighth, Knuckles, ninth, KBO7, 10th, Smith Pell, 11th, Nikki 64, 12th, Dusty Lusky, and everyone on back from light work behind did not finish the Grand Prix. And not only did Elma Jacko claim the Drivers' Championship, it's also a Constructors' Championship for Ferrari. Hotspot, thank you for joining us all this season, and we hope to see you again next year for the next season of the Coleslaw Cup. And if it's anything like this, boy, am I excited. So long, everyone.